Here's for something different. This NASPEC 90 had a problem with the washers not working. Now it's quite a simple circuit. I took the pin off to make sure, you know, there was power to one side and the ground to the other. Nipped them together and the washers still weren't working, so it needed a new switch. And here we have one from Bearmark this time. We got this one Bearmark. It's made in Taiwan and it looks remarkably good. You know, it really looks good. But before we fit it, let's do something, because somebody asked me in the comments, is it possible to change the rubber? And the answer is sort of. Because you see, if we look very carefully in here, this part is on a spline down there. You can see it down there. Look, this part's on a spline, so you can pull this out. Easy, I'll just pull it out and change it. But then you've got to figure out the wires, because the easiest way would be to cut and rejoin the wires back up, because this one goes all the way up the cable, this green with a black tracer, and the black here goes to a push-on connector here, so you're going to have to cut them to pull them out. Quite frankly, is it worth it? If the rubber's gone, you no doubt the switch is gone. And they're not, like I say, they're not expensive, they're not really worth chewing on. Now I've just tested this one and I was right, that as soon as I've plugged it in down here, it works okay. So I just wanted to show you that first. But what we've got to do with this NASPEC, it's like a TD5 steering wheel. We take the cover off, and then we're going to get a 22mm key and take this nut off here. But we're not going to take it off all the way. Now I've put the steering wheel in a straight ahead position, you know, so this was horizontal, so it should go back on okay. But we're going to have to use a puller, and we're going to use my old favourite puller. So we're going to back off the nut and put the puller in if we can, if it's going to be long enough. Oh man, I might have to chop that down a bit or use some different holes, and pull this off, because unlike a 300 TDI where you just wiggle the steering wheel and it comes off, these are like the old 2.5s and, you know, pre-TDI should I say, that have two drawing nuts on their tapped threads, and you can't hammer these off, you've got to use a puller. So let's get this set up. So there's my puller, my strong back over the top of that, and I don't know if you can see inside there, maybe not. I've left the nut on, but I've wound it a couple of threads over the top of the shaft, so we're pushing on the nut, not on the shaft. It's really important. Now, thread size, you would have thought it would have been like 6mm, wouldn't you? But they're actually quarter UNF for the bolts. These go in a few threads, but not all the way. So now I'm going to try, I don't know if I can do it. I haven't got my stand, it's down the other shop, but let's see if we can draw this off. It's going to be tight. Oh, there we go, it's off. That's all it took, eh? As you see, there's no need for hammering. So now we'll take that off and take the nut off, and that steering wheel will come off. It's funny, Land Rover, they kept the same threads for years and years and years, when they knew that these were metric anyway. They stopped using metric in, was it 1980? Oh, they started to use metric, should I say, 1983. Nobody told them when they were doing the steering wheels. So there we go. Now we take the nut off. It might be a bit dark. It's really dark in this Land Rover because everything's black. It's horrible. So that steering wheel now should come off. I might have to put the camera down just a second. So we're almost there. All we've got to do is take off these two nuts here. What are they, 7mm? Now we've got to take that push nut off. I think they're called push nuts over here. For some strange reason it doesn't come with one. I don't know why. It's a crazy idea, and neither does it come with the indicator. It just comes like that. So yeah, the pin is 3/16. It's not metric, it's 3/16, so we're going to get some 3/16 push nuts. Whilst I was fiddling on with this thing here, a lot of people get confused when you put your steering wheel back on, that there's some notches in the back of the steering wheel, some tangs here that locate on here. And if you notice if I turn that round the other way, you'll see it in the light a bit better. There's a little pin on there, and that always faces to the left. All right, so just be aware of that, because sometimes your signals don't cancel properly. So let me get these off and we'll have a play around. Ooh. So I got the old piece off, and then I just got to thinking, as I mentioned earlier, about changing this rubber, and I just noticed on this one here, well, this one hasn't got a rubber at all. Looks awful, doesn't it? But we've got a rubber here. Shall we have a go and see if we can replace it? It could be a lot of fun. There's a pinch bolt at the top here, just a Phillips screw, and then release that and it should just pull forward. The bolts holding this on, those little screws, were quarter. You know, quarter AF, so obviously no metric in this bit. But let's see if we can do something with this on the bench. And so the answer, can we take this off? No. When I took this, well, we could, I think we will, but when I took this switch off, I noticed there was a little wire dangling here, and it lives on here. Also, there's supposed to be a little metal strap that goes across there. How do I know that? Because this is a genuine Lucas one. Again, made in Taiwan. But you can see the pin goes onto here, and there's a little retaining metal plate on there. So I think we'll put this one on. Not going to mess about, but because we do like to mess about quite a lot, let's see if we can get this off. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Oh, and the answer is yes. So what we've got to do on this one is simply cut the wire with a pair of snips. Just let me go and get me snips. Now if we cut this off here, we can pull that out, take the rubber off, somehow. Will it come off? I don't know. That's held on there pretty well. This is interesting. How do we get that off? And that won't, even if we take this piece off, it's not going to be helpful. Yeah. That's interesting. Where's some oil? Oil. Let me have a look for my little oil can. I've got an idea. So I put a bit of oil down inside, and now I'm going to try and tease a screwdriver into there and trying to work some oil into there to try and get it off. What a mess about, eh? How long do you live? Oh. That worked. So, one rubber cover, one junky switch. So what we'll do now, we might as well bolt this piece onto here now and make this unit complete using the original screws. I managed to get that push nut off quite easy, but I'll show you in a minute. I'll fasten this up and I'll come back. This wire on this old switch seems to go to the horn push up here. So what's it doing down here? Well, I'm not really sure. But anyway, the pin here is supposed to have a little tubular. What can you say that now? It's supposed to have a little tubular pin on there, but it's snapped off. Is it worth the trouble of fixing it? Well, not really. It's too much messing about. But I think I might just keep this one, because you see the body on here. this clamp usually breaks off, and it might be able to make one switch out of 2 or 3. Just be warned, if you don't be tempted to take these apart, because there's springs and all sorts in there. They're a bloody nightmare. I've done 1 or 2, but there we go. So now this little push nut, this little thing here, what they usually do is they snap this. Where have you gone to? There you are. They snap just on this side and then they're useless, but this one's okay. So I'm just going to push it on with my fingers and cut my fingers, and then take the socket that we were using and put your thumb behind it, because you don't want to stress anything out, and simply push it on. Done. So now we can go and bolt this back up again. So there you go, we've got this back on again. Now, just a little tip, I didn't tighten these screws up until I got that pin in. I've got these to tighten up again, but that was the last thing. Also, when you put this, slide this unit onto the steering column, get the nut out as far as you can, the little screw, and put your finger in the plastic here just to open it out, not too much, because it's so easy to snap that bit off. It's such a bad idea. But apart from that, clip it up, and again the old thing, test it before you try it. See, look at that. Works fine. Will it park? There you go. So that's good. And this, perfect. Perfect. So that's good. Yeah, so now I'm just going to box it up and put the cowls on. There's nothing to really know about putting the cowls on. It's so much easier to do with the speedo binnacle out the way. I just lift him up and put him out the way, and then you can make a nice job of it. But only tip I can sort of give you is put the screws in the holes, but don't tighten them up until every screw's in place, because there's a lot of wiggle room on that plastic. I'll put it together and I'll show you what it looks like when we're finished. So there we go, it's all back together and it's all working fine. A few things to remember: don't put oversized screws in here because it'll crack the plastic, because it's very flimsy at the best of times. Apart from that, some other tips. If the steering's not quite right, the thing I do is I just take off the cover, take off the nut and the steering wheel and just put it on loose and take it for a little drive along a quiet road, and then just make sure that when you're on the straight, it pulls straight, then put the steering wheel on. You don't have to mess about with splines underneath or anything like that, it's too complicated. Yeah, but do that at your own risk and do it on a quiet road. Right, I think we'll sign that off. I can put the carpets back in now and sort of finish this off, but like I said, the owner's down in Florida and he can't come and pick it up, so bit of a shame really, so we're stuck with it for a little bit longer. See you later. Ta-ra.